Okay. Okay, here we go. Hi, my name's Luis Mendoza. I work for the Whittier Union High School District in the Transition and Vocational Services Department. I am a work cited practitioner. I work with students with disabilities and help them with their Social Security benefits. I've been a work practitioner for about 8 years now, but I've been working with students in transition age youth for about 22 years now. The views that I'm saying right now do not reflect Whittier Union High School District. This is just my personal beliefs and just kind of things that I've picked up over the years of working with my students and their families and dealing with Social Security Administration. Okay, now let's go and get into it. So qualifying for SSI. Social Security is a needs-based program. So, there is financial limits to it. It is also determined that you have to have a disability also. So that's one of the big things. So it's kind of both those things combined. That's why a lot of students that are, pretty young don't receive it until they're the age of 18 because of the fact that, their parents' jobs and their earned income that comes into the home reflects on them. So they're not able to qualify most of the time. Also, your disability must be an impairment that lasts for over a year. So if a student breaks his arm, it'll usually only last for 6 months. It's not over a year, so it's not counted as an impairment in disability in Social Security's eyes. Because it's a need-based program, it's for lower income people with lower income, and usually the limit is $1,310 a month. That's for adults that are applying for Social Security. You could be working around that. It just kind of they also count how much money you have in your bank account. Also, how many cars and how many houses you have, and a bunch of different things like that when you're an adult. But as a child, it all is how your parents what they earn and stuff like that, their jobs. Applying for Social Security. Applying for Social Security is actually it's not that hard. It takes a lot of time, and it's kind of frustrating at times, but it's very easy. You do not need to get a lawyer. You do not need to get people. If you have someone that you could call for help, most regional centers will have someone that could help. With the district, that's where I'm here, and they have a lot of parents calling me for help. Also, if your son or daughter is a part of Department of Rehab also has Social Security people that could help. Or you could just call Social Security, and they have people that'll help you through the paperwork. That's one of the reasons why I love to tell families that to do it over the phone. When they're applying for Social Security, use the phone option. It's 1-800-722-1213. I put it right here in the PowerPoint. When you're filling out some of that paperwork, some of the questions are a little odd, and you really don't know what they mean, because most people that apply for SSI are retirees or older individuals. So Social Security doesn't really know how to talk to youth as much. Youth are teenagers, 18 years old. It's a very, very small percentage that they deal with on an everyday basis. So they're not really focused on that. They're more focused on people that are a little bit older and in retirement age. So when those questions kind of sound funny sometimes to some families, how many kids do you have, and stuff like that. So it's better to call, because when you're on the phone with the person from Social Security, you could actually ask them, well, what does that mean? And they could go a little bit more in depth on the questions. And it also helps with that you're not making a mistake and then getting denied because you answered a question wrong. If you do it over the internet, you apply over the internet, there's a chance of that. And even if you do apply over the internet, you need to do you're going to do a phone interview or an inside interview anyways. And this is, if you do it over the phone when you're applying, you kind of cut that also. Also, after you hang up, when you're about to hang up with them, they'll actually make the appointment with you to come to do the face-to-face interview. And that's great, because if you do it over the internet, if you do it, over their website, they're going to call you for that. You could miss the call. It could take a couple weeks to get that done. If you do it over the phone, you get it done. You have all your appointments, you're ready to go. Because it's a need-based, if you're applying, so let's go with like an 18-year-old, student who's going to join like a transition program. If they have over $2,000 in a bank account, they're automatically going to get denied, because it's need-based, like we're saying. Those, that all those those substantial gainful limits, that has to do with money, how much money they're making. If they're making more than that monthly amount they could make, then they'll get denied also. Deeming, if they are still living in the house, they're going to get deemed. However many people are living in the house, they might get a little bit lower check every month. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Social Security Online, this is their online thing. This is something to get started as soon as possible, even if you're not ready to apply, because when applying, when getting your password and everything like that, because mostly everything that Social Security is doing now is online. So even if you want to get a new Social Security card, you could do that online now. But the way that Social Security does it, they do it off your address, your last address that they have. So if you go in there and you put your information, it's the wrong address, that it's your old address, then they're going to mail you your PIN number, to get on, and that could take a month sometimes. It just matters. So it's better just to get all that stuff out of the way right now, so you're not ready to fill out the application and then you have to wait a month to get your PIN number. Because I don't think I've ever helped someone sign up for the online and they've automatically just got a PIN number, because there's always something wrong. Even if the apartment number's off or something, they always have to end up mailing them the PIN number. So it's good to start that off as soon as possible. This is something I get asked a lot. So it's the age 18 redetermination. So what that happens is, if your son or daughter is receiving SSI, as a child, and all from either birth or from junior high or elementary school, at age 18, when they're about to graduate, there's a redetermination that Social Security puts them through to see if their disability is still, if they're still disabled. They find out if they're still disabled, how much income's coming in, resources, the living arrangement. They just, they're going to become an adult, so they're getting re-looked at, and their SSI is actually going to change over to an adult, and they're going to be their own person now. They're not going to go under your, they're not going to be, it's not your income status. It's not going to count towards them anymore. So they're adults. So this happens every year, around graduation for a lot of the students. I get a lot of phone calls about this, and a lot of times they'll send in a nice thick stack of paperwork that you need to fill out, and then you also need to show proof of disability, and then a lot of doctors information and stuff like that. Yeah, please fill that stuff out as soon as possible. Send it in. They give you about 60 days to do it, and the number one reason why students lose their SSI is because parents do not fill out that paperwork and turn it in. That's the number one reason that I get when the parents come and tell me, oh, my son or daughter, they're not receiving SSI anymore. And then we go through the paperwork, find out, and it's because they didn't turn in this redetermination information, or they didn't go to the appointments. They'll stop it right away. You need to take, you need everything that you do give to Social Security, and you want to keep a copy for yourself, so, make a lot of photocopies of everything. They really, really like doctors' stuff. Anything with diagnosis on it, they really, really like it. IEPs, psych reports, they'll take. If they're part of regional center, anything from the regional center and Social Security, they kind of have like the same qualifications for stuff. So if you have any kind of things with the disability and stuff like that from regional center, Social Security likes to look at that also. They do interviews. It could be either in person or over the phone. It just matters what they want to do that time. Just be as truthful as possible. And when speaking about, your son or daughter, please, when you're talking about it, talk about, the really tough day, the really, really hard day that you guys have when getting up in the morning, getting dressed, stuff like that. You don't, that's the best way to reflect on, what kind of needs that you guys need, for your son or daughter. Try not to use things like, sometimes he or she has a hard time getting up, but they're getting better because Social Security hears they're getting better, and then a lot of times that'll kind of stop the process right there. It's great to, to talk, about, our children, and that, that they're doing better, and, it's not, like they used to be, they're growing up and they're starting to learn a little bit more, but, Social Security eyes, they see that as like, oh, he's getting better. Okay. So then you don't need this resource, when it's just like, it's getting better a little bit, they're able to get up on their own, but, I still have to help them get dressed and stuff like that. Everybody has a different value on what that means, getting better means, so when talking to them, usually talk about, one of the, a challenging day that you're having with that your son or daughter is having, and let them know about those kind of days, because that's what they want to hear. They want to they'll be able to help with that kind of stuff. This is also that, this is some of the documentation, like I said before, medical information, doctor's information. That's what they really, really like looking at. IEPs, the latest IEP, the latest psych report, unless you have some older IEPs that have diagnosis on it, then that's a good one too. But they really, really like to look at the hospital and medical records from doctors and stuff like that. Proof of income and pensions and stuff like that, unemployment, workers' compensation, stuff like that. If they're right in high school, a lot of times they don't have a lot of that stuff. Life insurance policies, stuff like that. They're usually not going to have that kind of stuff. Burial contracts and stuff like that. You really don't need that. They might ask for that kind of stuff. If you're a parent, they might ask for your stuff. Just tell them no. Tell them like, no, my son is an adult now, my daughter's an adult now. You ask them stuff. You don't need any information from me. They really don't need to get any information from the parents once the son or daughter are in the age 18 redetermination, because now they're an adult. That's the whole purpose of this. But they do try to get some information for deeming purposes, but you don't have to give it to them. This is so. Social Security is kind of, it's really strange how they, when applying for Social Security is, sometimes you get denied, and then all of a sudden you start getting Social Security checks. And it's very strange, because when you sign up for Social Security, they deny you for things, but then they want to process something else. So you get denied because of, let's say, this happens a lot. So they get denied because they say that your disability is no longer relevant in their eyes. Like your disability, you're not as disabled as before, or you don't qualify through your disability. But then they'll send paperwork, and you tell them, you want to appeal the decision. You always want to appeal the decisions, because that means when you appeal it, they're going to send you this thick packet. You fill out that packet, and they're going to ask, is your son and daughter in a program that has work, is employment is a goal, and that's where the Section 301 comes in, because of the fact that your son or daughter is, say they're in a transition program where work is a goal. That means that in Social Security eyes, that means that one day that your son or daughter might work their way off of their Social Security. So although they are not quote unquote disabled in Social Security's eyes, they see that they're a part of this program, and they'll let them keep their Social Security cash benefits for another couple of years while they're in that program. So but the only way to get the Section 301 provision is to get denied for one thing, but then you tell them that you're in these programs and you'll get back on it. So that's why when the paperwork comes in, you got to fill out every section, because there's a lot of ways to keep your SSI cash benefits coming in. It'll end after they're done with that program. So if it's a transition program, it'll end at 22 years old when they graduate from that program. But if they get into Department of Rehab, Department of Rehab could last, a couple of years after that. And our Department of Rehab is also one of those programs. Our Ticket to Work, any other kind of program, even I think college and adult school, stuff like that, as long as they're taking the right amount of units for that, and you could prove that it's going towards work, employment, then they'll be able to keep their benefits a little bit longer. Cash. This is the SSI benefits amounts right now. The reason I'm showing you this is we're going to start talking about living arrangements and fair share and rent paying. So this is just what is offered right now. So this is a disabled adult in their own home will get $954.70. In the house of another, $693.58. So if your son or daughter is living in the fair share, under fair share through Social Security with you, this is the amount that they'd be getting, the $693.58. But then you're wondering, like, well, how come I'm not receiving this one? His or her friend is receiving that one. Well, that's because they are paying rent to their family. So that's what this is right here. So this is one of the best ways to get your full benefit, is to have your child pay rent. And that's what Social Security, that's what SSI benefits, Social Security benefits are for. They're for rent and they're for food. They're for a place to live and to eat. So if you're going to have your child paying rent, that's exactly what it's for. You're not doing anything evil. This is, they're a young adult. They need to start learning, and this is the best way to do it, And it's very, very easy to do this. You go down to Social Security and let them know that my child's living arrangement has changed, and they will now pay rent. I don't have it on here, but it's very easy to do it. You could do a really easy, really informal renter's agreement. It could be like a line paper written by hand. Just Luis Mendoza, my son Luis, will be paying $550 rent every month on the 10th of the month to, and then your name. You guys both sign it. That's a renter's agreement. So as long as I like to tell the parents to make sure that there's a money trail that goes to them, just in case anything does happen. Make sure that money doesn't end up going into your child's bank account, because there is a $2,000 limit for Social Security. And if they see that he's supposed to be paying rent, but so all of a sudden he has like $4,000 in his bank account, they're gonna be like, well, that's not happening, and they're gonna take you back down to the fair share agreement. With the fair share, the reason why it's 600, because your SSA check gets reduced by a third. That they see that as someone's helping you pay your rent and stuff like that, so they're pulling some of that money out and keeping it, because they're you're still being treated as like kind of like a child in their eyes. I think this is a really, really good way also to teach your son or daughter. They maybe have them teach them how to write checks, have them write you a check. It could be a really good learning moment, and teach a little bit of responsibility. What is income? This is a really, really kind of, hold on, find where I'm at here. What is income? So income in Social Security's eyes, it sounds like it's not that important, but it's very important, because Social Security really likes earned income. Unearned income, it's not too good. They don't really like to hear that. They like to hear earned income, because they want to know that you're trying to work your way off of your SSI benefits. And with earned income, you could do that. And they have little programs that can help you keep your SSI benefits while getting earned income, because they want to see you one day work your way off your benefits. Unearned income earned income is like wages and money you get from your job or self-employment, or stuff that you earn, money that you earn. Unearned income is money that you receive from SSI, from VA pensions, unemployment, cash gifts. If someone passes away and leaves you a bunch of money, that's all unearned income. And that's another way someone, that happens a lot when someone passes away and then they leave a lot of money to a child or something like that, and your Social Security will stop once they see that money hit that bank account. So, then you got to figure out what to do with that and how to bring, there's different ways to do different things to do with that. But if they see that you have that money in your bank account, your Social Security will stop. Your SSI cash benefits will stop. Reporting responsibilities, we'll talk about a little bit about that later. But, once your child gets a job, even if it's a job in a transition program where they're only making, maybe $90 a month or something like that, they need to report that. So the best thing to do is, you make a photocopy of the check stub, keep that, take a copy to Social Security, have them date stamp it, and take it. If that builds up and they find out that, let's say $90 over 10 months, that's $1,000 almost, they could ask you to pay that money back, because you shouldn't have been receiving that, because you were being, making a little bit of money this whole time. So it's a good thing. You have to report your wages. It's very, very important to report your wages. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Student earned income exclusion is something that I get this question a lot. Parents like to ask, our parents really think, especially in high school, if my child works, they're going to lose their SSI. I have students that come in and like, hey, do you want to get a job? No, my mom said I'll lose my SSI. That's not true. Social Security really, really loves people that work, and they want to help you out. They want to help you work your way off your benefits slowly. And to work and receive SSI, if you're working, you're always going to receive more money. And I'll show you the breakdown a little bit later. But if you're a student and you're under the age of 22, you're regular attending school, you have the ability to earn $1,930 per month without it affecting your benefits. So, that's almost $2,000 a month, but there's an annual limit of 7,770. Most kids that are in high school, they're never going to make that much. They're usually working part-time, at a McDonald's or a retail place, a couple days a week. If they do hit that limit, they do, and then it'll start affecting their SSI benefits a little bit. And I'll go over the calculations. It's going to affect it just a little bit, not too much. They're still always making more money if they're working. Person regularly attending school. These are all the ways that a person that's regularly attending school is considered in Social Security's eyes. So even if you're going to college, 8 hours, but it is only up to the age of 22. So that's the thing too. If they're in a transition program, it ends at 22. But if they're in a college and they're receiving SSI, they still have a couple of years in college to be able to still participate in this earned income exclusion. When you apply for the earned income exclusion, it's really easy to, this is what the form looks like that I use at Whittier. The students that are in the transition program here, I usually fill this out and give it to their parents to take to Social Security. So it doesn't, so their work that they're working at here doesn't affect their SSI. And it's just the student's name, birthday, Social Security number, the time that they're in school. I usually even add the summer program too. And please, I'm requesting the earned income exclusion, and then information from the school and stuff like that. If they do need to call, they usually call whoever's running the program, or here it's Bonnie Bolton, so that's who I usually put on there. And if they do have a problem, but they've never had a problem, they usually always, I usually put it on letterhead, and it's pretty official, so they take it. But I'm also in contact with them also, so I speak to a couple of the workers there, and they know that what our program is about and stuff like that. This is also about the letter, so the best way to do is take it in and get a date stamped. Keep a copy for yourself. Give them a copy. Social Security is notorious for losing things, just because there's just so many people going in there. So it's always good to keep a copy for yourself, because just in case they do lose it, you have your copy. You're able to go give it to them and let them know that here it is. Here's my copy. We're good. Here's the pay. Here's how Social Security affects pay. So I'm gonna try to go slow and explain it, because it is a little confusing, but and once you see it a couple of times, it makes a little bit more sense. So If your son or daughter is receiving SSI and they're an adult, this is the adult, so this is age 18, let's say, and then they're in the transition program right now, they'll be receiving $954.72 if they're paying rent. This is the renter's agreement one. So they're making that much. And let's say that their wages for the month are $500. They're working pretty good. They're working at CVS. They're working regularly. They're doing pretty good, in the program. So what Social Security is going to do over here is they're going to count your child's wages as $500 because that's their earned income. That's the money that they earned working. So right off the bat, Social Security has two exclusions. They have a general income exclusion, and then other earned income exclusion that comes out to $85. That's $85 that Social Security puts to the side and says, we're not going to count this. That's yours. Put that back in your pocket. Don't worry about it. So what it comes out to is $415. $415, Social Security says, okay, that's earned income right there. We're going to start there. And then they say, you know what? We're going to cut that in half. We want you to keep $207.50 of that, and we're only going to count $270.50 of that. So they divide the money that money by two, and then now they say $207.50 is your accountable income. That's what we're going to say that you made at your job. He or she only really made $500, but Social Security is only going to count $207. So if we add that with the SSI check that he or she received, which is a $954.70, and then we minus that from the $207.50, that comes up to $747.22. That's the new amount of SSI cash benefits that they're going to receive that month. Okay, so we go down and we add everything up again. So their cash benefit, the check that they're going to get from SSI, plus the wages that they got from their check working, and that comes out to $1,247.22. That is way more money than $954.70. So it's always better to work. You're working, you're making more money. If you're on SSI, this is how they deduct it, and they want to help you make more money, just so you get the confidence to work your way off of it one day. So, yeah, that's how it is. You always make more money working. Overpayments is a big thing. We talked a little bit about that before. Make sure you report your wages. Take the check stubs into Social Security. Report of your living situation. Report of employment. You lose your job, you get a new job. Let Social Security know. Keep good records of all your stuff, because sometimes I have a client or Social Security every year asks me for all of his check stubs for the year, and I need to send them over to him. So he has to keep them. We keep them together. He brings them to me too. It's just good to keep everything, because every once in a while they'll ask for something like that. Report when you stop working, because if you don't, Social Security is usually always 2 months behind. So because it's such a big agency that they're usually paying you for what you did 2 months ago. So if you have a job and you're making money, this happens usually like around Christmas time, when a lot of the students start working more because there's not school and they're getting overtime because of holidays. It's a little bit more busy. Students sometimes make a little bit more money during that time, and because Social Security is still on they're seeing his or her paycheck coming in at a pretty low clip every month. When it pops up for that December round of paychecks, you might have to pay some of that back. They might tell you that oh wait, we paid you too much, and that's normal, and that's very easy. They'll just pull it out of his next SSI check. That's not a big deal. But if you keep the reporting, that stuff won't happen. You won't get those weird spikes and changes in your SSI, and they won't be sending those letters like, oh, you owe us $200 or $300 or however much the over under came in on your SSI check that month. When reporting, this is a form that I like to give out to some of the students when they want to report. It's really easy. Date of check, today's date, what kind of benefit they're receiving. Their name, client's name, and are the representative. If they're using any of those, any of the past plans, so student earned income, past plan, URI, there's a couple of different things, and it's good to label which one you are using. And then you just, staple a copy of the check stub to this, take it to Social Security, and she get it all taken care of. Like I said, get it date stamped and make sure you keep a copy for yourself, just in case it does get lost with all their paperwork. Reporting wages, there's a couple different ways. You don't have to go into the branch to go do it. Like I said, you could do it over the phone. Over the phone is sometimes kind of iffy. I've had some people have some problems with it. The best way is always to go in and take it, hand it to them, and get a hard copy for yourself to keep in your records, because it's when you don't get a hard copy over the phone. Reporting your wages via the Social Security app is actually really, really good. It's really, really easy. These are the only steps. These are the steps that you have to take on the app. You know, you agree, you put in your name, your last name, your Social Security number, date of birth, who's doing it. Are you doing it? Or is your mom doing it? Your parents doing it? You put in your wages for that month, send it in, boom. And then what I have a lot of families do is screenshot that successful submission for June, and then they print that out and keep that as a copy for them. I've had a lot of heard a lot of good things about the app. I haven't had any horror stories about the app. But like I said, the best way to do is I know it takes a lot longer, but keeping it hard copy for yourself and for them, that's always the best way to do it, just in my eyes, because you always want that proof. The Ticket to Work program. So the Ticket to Work program is a program that I run here at the district. Ticket to Work is also one of those programs that could help you keep your SSI a little bit longer. It actually gives you a benefits counselor. It gives you job development, and it helps with any of those pre-employment skills you do need. It goes from the ages 18 to 64, 65. And you kind of get, a personalized, kind of not job coach, but job development person to help you with your resume writing, applying for jobs, and someone that just sends. I do a lot of sending out job leads to my clients and stuff like that. But I also keep an eye on their Social Security benefits when they are making money, to let them know when they're going to lose different things, when their cash might stop, when their insurance might stop, and they might need to start going with their employer or something like that. So it's a good program for people that want to work their way off their cash benefits from Social Security. And it's really good because it helps you work your way off really slow. I've had people on it for already 8 years now, and they still haven't worked their way off their benefits, but they're working full time and doing everything that they need to do. But in Social Security's eyes, they're rock stars, because they're actually really working the program for what it's supposed to be worth. But that's all I have. Thank you very much. My phone and my extension and my email are right there. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I can answer any questions, or we could talk over the phone about a specific question that you might be having, or problem you might be having with your son or daughter or yourself. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.